Alright, so I am going to video how I have been using Pam Carricker's mixed media portrait new book on using the Neocolor 2 with the matte medium to do these portraits, and I'm doing it slightly different than what I had seen demonstrated. So the first thing I did was I found this, just a drawing that I had from a long time ago. So first step was I traced it on tracing paper, just some of the major features, and then I used carbon paper. I'm going to go ahead and remove this, and I just lightly traced it. I used blue painter's tape so it wouldn't move around and wiggle. And save your carbon paper because that can be used again. Alright, so you can see I just have a real light sketch in the graphite of her main features. I have some watercolor brushes. I have a flat and a number 12 round that I'm going to use. And I have Mod Podge that I'm going to use. And I'm going to add some, this is almost to the end. I am going to just add some water just to thin it down a little because it's kind of thick for this. And I found that it worked a little bit better when it was thinner. In fact, I'll still use a real wet brush and a real wet application of it. Alright, so that the Neo 2 color that I'm going to use to start with is the ultramarine blue, and I'm going to put in some of my shadows in real light application is what I've found is best. And now in the book she talks about using the gel medium to blend it out, but I found that I got better control if I used water, like watercolor, and blended it out the way I wanted it, and then use the gel medium to set it. And if I decide that it's heavier than I want, I just blot it. Less is more. Alright, so I have it shadowed the way I want it for the first layer. So what I'm going to do is coat it with the gel medium to set it. At this point, I want to cover all her skin with the gel medium, but I don't really want to go into the background area dramatically, because when I went to do my background, I don't want there to be dry gel medium and then raw paper. So I am going to heat set that. Alright, now the next step is actually two colors. So you're going to use the white and you're going to dip it in the water and go all over the face. You're not going to add the gel medium. Before that dries, you're going to go in back over the same areas where you went with the blue with the ochre and blend that with the white, which is going to kind of tone down some of the blue and start to get some of that skin tone. So I'm going to put the white, and I'm just dipping the tip of the crayon in the water and using kind of a light circle motion, going all over the face. And I'm going to dip it again as it feels like it's drying out. All right, I'm going to set that aside. Now I'm going to come back in and put the ochre where I had the blue. Again, less is more. You can always add layers. It's harder to take it away. Get my brush wet again and start to work the ochre out, blending with some of the white. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to add another layer of the Mod Podge and heat set it. But my brush was pretty wet, so I want it to dry. I think while that's drying, I am going to just set in a base layer of the brown for her hair. I'm not going to worry about details right now. I'm going to flip it and turn it around. It has a copper headband. That I'll add some background color into. Again, like I said, I'm not looking for detail anywhere. I'm just looking for getting some base color in. Million in for the headband. I use water to kind of blend it so I don't have those lines from coloring on the paper. Alright, and then I'm going to use my finger and the damp baby wipe and just take some of that bright color out in the middles, because it's going to be kind of a twisted, so that I can get some darks and some lights. Get my finger where I want it, so I'm just going to wrap some baby wipe around the end of a brush. I just wanted to get some of that pulled back out. I am going to coat her entire face with the watered down Mod Podge. Now I like to do her face first while my brush is clean, and then worry about her hair. I don't want to bring any of that brown down into or smear it down into her face. I don't really mind if there's a little bit of brown in the headband or some vermilion. Alright, so I'm going to heat set that. We are now. Step according to the book is to dip the white crayon, cover the entire face again, and I am using a little bit of scarlet to add some of the pink tones. I come back in. Sparingly on this. Where I want to pull it back, I just kind of pounce some of that off if I think it's too pink. Worried about final skin tone at this point.